Hello everyone, you're very welcome along on this latest audio walk from open country and Bolton Abbey. You join me today on a spring day in a bustling Bolton Abbey village. Although there's a chilly breeze in the air, the sun's shining and it's looking absolutely glorious for our walk today. In a moment, we'll head out through the village, past the priory ruins and underneath a narrow stone arch as we venture uphill into the solitude of the Yorkshire Dales countryside. We'll make our way through Strid Wood, where hopefully we'll come across some bluebells, and then head on to Hare Head, where we should get some fantastic views over the Wharf Valley. From there we'll drop down over the moors towards Strid Wood and then cross the river wharf at the aqueduct and head back along the undulating path back to the priory ruins and Bolton Abbey village. So thank you once again for joining me, and as always, let's put our best foot forward and see what we can find on this audio walk today. It's amazing how quickly on this walk you can escape the throngs that flock to Bolton Abbey. Whereas most people stick to the riverside paths around the priory and the Strid, very few venture towards Hare Head, where we're walking today. But all you have to do is leave the road which we've just walked from, and you're into beautiful, peaceful, rolling countryside. We're constantly reminded with the sounds of sheep that we are in farmland. But in front of us we've got this lovely little pond, which is flanked at the side by flag irises that haven't yet come into flower, but when they do, it's a beautiful yellow iris flower. But there is some yellow down there, the yellow of marsh marigolds, which again are like little rays of sunshine at this time of year. Even though the sun is already out, it's just making them iridesce in the sunlight even more. And we also got the first sight of some bluebells on the banks of this pond as well. We've just entered the beautifully peaceful Westy Bank Wood. It's here where our climb up to Hare Head begins. But there's going to be plenty of excuses to take a breather along the way, because in and amongst all of these giant trees is a sea of bluebells. The smell is absolutely wonderful. It's just a wonderful perfumey sweet smell, which always reminds me of spring, and when the sun is being cast over them, it just makes them even more pungent. There's something magical about walking through a woodland, but at this time of year, with that blue and the smell accompanying it, it just makes it extra special. The trees are also providing wonderful shelter from the breeze as well. So it is perfectly still in here. We have to keep our eyes peeled for deer as well, because I imagine them absolutely loving this sort of environment. Anyway, our climb must begin at some point, so let's head up through the woods and enjoy this wonderful scene. There's a lovely fallen tree here that's covered in moss. It's almost acting as a cushion as I sit on it to admire these beautiful surroundings here in Westy Bank Wood. To my right hand side there's a lovely patch of wood anemones, which are lovely little white flowers which contrast the blue of the bluebells beautifully. The wood here is mainly made up of a combination of pine, sycamore and beech trees, which is a lovely habitat for the bluebells. They love any kind of woodland really, but often when you see beech trees you will find bluebells. At this time of year, when everything is just starting to burst into life, the beech trees emit this beautiful lime green coloured leaf, which turns darker as the year goes on before it turns bright orange in the autumn. We've now crested Westy Bank Wood. It's time to say goodbye to the bluebells, for now anyway. I'm sure they won't be the only ones that we encounter on this audio walk today. Already the breeze has started to pick up. I can hear it whistling through the branches of the trees on the edge of the wood, which is flanked by a moss-clad dry stone wall. In a moment we'll go through this farm gate, across the farmland, and then over towards Hare Head, which I can see looming on the horizon ahead of us, which is the highest point of our walk today. So woodland will soon turn to farmland, and then that will readily turn to moorland as we approach the heady heights of Hare Head. Well, I hope you've had a hearty breakfast this morning, because I have a feeling that the path is just about to get a little bit tougher as we leave the grass undulating fields behind and enter into the rugged moorland area, which has got more tufty, harder grasses, a little bit more bog and a bit more steep climbing to do before we get to the top of Hare Head. But for the bit of climbing that we've already done, these views that are starting to open up are definitely giving me the impetus to keep going. Just a little bit further and we'll make it, and I'm sure that our hard work will be rewarded by the magnificent vistas that surround us. Well done everybody. We've made it to the top of a blustery Hare Head. Apologies if you're getting some distortion from the noise of the wind echoing around us. But as promised, it was boggy, it was undulating, but the views are well worth it. It's absolutely spectacular up here. If we work our way round from east, going 360 degrees, in front of us we've got the upper and lower Barden reservoirs that are glinting in the spring sunshine. Above those is Barden Moor and Thorpe Fell. As we move our way around we can see the quarries at Emsey and a bit of the town of Skipton. And above there we can see the Lancashire Hills. Looming over all of them is the plateau of Pendle Hill. As we keep moving across, we go across Skipton Moor and Chelker Reservoir, then on to Rumbold's Moor and Ilkley Moor and the famous Cow and Calf Rocks. Moving round further, we've got Beamsley Beacon. And then, of course, it's Simon's Seat and the Valley of Desolation, where I've also recorded an audio walk. Moving on from there, we get up the Wharf Valley and Grassington Moor and the looming hill of Great Whernside. And then we're back across to the rusty heather-clad moor over at Barden, which completes the circuit of absolutely incredible vistas. I'm going to brave this wind a little bit longer and revel in my surroundings before heading down back off the hill and across the moorland towards Strid Wood. making our way down off Hare Head now, and have managed to find a sheltered spot out of this blustery cool breeze to just bask in the sun for a moment and enjoy our surroundings. We've got some lovely spring-like sounds echoing around the valley around us. In the distance I can hear the bleating of sheep and newly born lambs. And in the sky there's the odd peep from a lapwing and the titter of skylarks that are dotting the blue sky. In fact, just as I mention a skylark, there's one just taken to the air in front of us. That's one of the things that I love about walking in springtime, just the amount and the abundance of wildlife that makes itself known just by the sounds that they make. Anyway, I think I'm going to leave the shelter of this lichen-encrusted dry stone wall and continue on the walk as we head towards Strid Wood and the Wharf Valley. Now I hope you've brought your waterproof boots, because I think this little section that we're walking through now is going to be a little bit of a boggy one. All across the moor there are these lovely little streams that are running down towards the valley below. But for us and our walk, it means that we might just have to get our feet a little bit damp. We're just coming up now to a valley that's been carved out by a stream of water running down, which you may be able to hear in the background. I've managed to find a little bit of shelter alongside it, in amongst some silver birch trees and a lovely old oak tree, all of which are coming out into bud and showing the first signs of life of the season. Anyway, I suppose we ought to find a safe passage across this little stream and try and keep our feet as dry as we possibly can. I may just have to leap for it. If you hear a splash, then please send out a search party. And there we go. We're safely over to the other side. Well, the path has dried out. The wind has dropped. And in that sunshine, it's starting to feel something like not just the beginning of spring, but the end of spring and early summer. After the breeze of Hare Head, I may even consider taking a layer off. We've managed to dodge the little boggy section, although I think one of my feet came a cropper as I missed one of the tussocks that was providing dry safety from the otherwise boggy landscape. But this sunshine is hopefully now going to dry my foot out for the rest of the walk. Just taking this moment to not just listen to the curlews and pheasants that you may be able to hear in the background, but to look at this wonderful view that we've got in front of us of the Wharf Valley, twisting its way up towards Burnsall and Grassington. The view is dominated on the left-hand side by the ruins of Barden Tower, and I can just about make out the edge of Barden Bridge in amongst the trees in the valley below, which are currently looking quite brown, but they've got this early green spring-like tint to them, which is promising the summer to come. At the other side of Barden Bridge, there's these fields that look like they've just been prepared for growth, because they're marked with the twisting lines of tractor wheel tracks in a twisty, ornate pattern. It really is lovely once again to hear the life that is bursting all around us on this very spring-like day. as we head back towards the Wharf Valley and Strid Wood. We've now entered Strid Wood. After walking over the moorland and then down through some fields with a dozy herd of Hereford cattle lying down in the sun. I'm hoping that doesn't mean that it's going to rain later. But we've now entered a completely different atmosphere. The cry of the curlew and the skylarks and the lapwings have been replaced by a cacophony of woodland bird sounds. And the trees are providing shelter from the sun, so it suddenly feels a little bit cooler. The last time I walked through these woods was when I was recording my previous audio walk in late winter, early spring. And then the woodland floor was quite dormant and brown looking, although now it's just a sea of green shoots as nettles and wild garlic punctuate the soil and provide a lovely smell to accompany this delightful atmosphere. Just a little bit further up the path, there's a little bird hide. So let's wander up there and sit for a while and see what we can find. When it comes to bird hides, I think many people have the impression that as soon as you sit down, there's going to be something that jumps out and performs for you. But if you've ever sat in a bird hide, then you'll probably know that that isn't the case. One of the things that I love about these places is it makes you stop and look and listen and just be part of your surroundings. Even if the most rare wildlife doesn't appear, it just makes you contemplate and admire the landscape around. From this hide, we've got a perfect vantage point over the woodland outstretching before us and the twisting gravel paths that provide the tourists that visit this place every year a chance to be at one with these woods, which is a really important thing. I think it's a good reminder that nature isn't there to perform for us. We're just here to acknowledge it when it does perform and enjoy it, but also enjoy the little things, just being in the moment and looking at the sun as it kisses the branches of the trees and the moss. Smell the flowers, the bluebells that are starting to crop up all around, and that pungent tang of the wild garlic. If this hide wasn't here, we probably would still notice those things, but to have a little bit of shelter and a chance to sit down and really appreciate it is worth its weight in gold, I think. We've made it to the banks of the River Wharf. as we head out of Strid Wood and in the direction of Barden Bridge. Although in a moment we'll be crossing this mighty river over the grand turreted aqueduct and heading back towards Bolton Abbey and Bolton Abbey village along the undulating path at the other side of the river. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about the aqueduct and also Barden Bridge, then have a listen to the audio walk that I recorded around this area. But in the meantime, let's crack on and follow the river back in the direction it's flowing towards our destination today. The birds never cease to amaze me at this time of year. The amount of stamina that they have to keep those songs going for such little creatures always amazes me. As we go up and down these hills alongside the River Wharf on our way back towards Bolton Abbey, I've just taken this moment to perch on a dead tree branch that's surrounded by bluebells. Once again, we're met with that beautifully sweet smell of these icons of spring. As I look beyond the path that we're currently walking along, I can just see them stretching as far as the eye can see down towards the banks of the river as it meanders quietly by. It's just another one of those moments where it's just lovely to pause and take everything in. Because when we return to our busy lives, although we won't forget this moment, it may be drowned out by other things. So it's a great opportunity to make the most of it whilst I've got it. Well, we've just crossed the River Wharf for the final time as we head back towards Bolton Abbey village. In fact, on a meander on the river just ahead, I can see the looming presence of Bolton Priory ruins, which is signalling the end of our audio walk today. I think we've actually timed it spot on because that breeze has blown quite a bit of cloud cover over now. It may even threaten some showers. Before we do finish, I'm just going to enjoy the ducks dabbling on the river and the little pied wagtails darting from rock to rock before making our way back up the hill past the Priory ruins and back into Bolton Abbey village. I do hope you've enjoyed joining me on this audio walk today as much as I've enjoyed recording it. It's been an absolute feast for the senses. If you have, then please listen to some of our other audio walks on the Open Country and Bolton Abbey websites. I'd love to speak to you again in the not too distant future. But until that point, thank you ever so much for listening and enjoy the rest of your day, whatever it is that you're doing.